The probe intensifies in Tunisha's suicide case. More revelations come to fore here. The probe reveals that 15 minutes before Tunisha ended her life, she had lunch with Sheezan inside the makeup room. It was at 3 p.m. that the duo met for lunch. Briefly, 15 minutes later, Tunisha was shockingly found hanging. Now, cops suspect that there could be some foul play that may have happened in those 15 minutes. According to sources, the suspicion emerges from the fact that even after breaking up, Tunisha and Sheezan were happy with one another. They had lunch together. Did they patch up? Was there anything else behind this? On the day Tunisha ended her life, the duo also shot some scenes together for the Alibaba serial. All right, let me quickly cut across to our guests joining us for a little understanding on the pressures that stars usually face within the industry. We have Damini Chopra, an actor herself, Raviraa Bharadwaj, an actor too. Raviraa, would you want to give us your sense of this case? Tunisha Sharma, a young actor who seemed very happy, hale and hearty right before this alleged suicide bid. Now, she had lunch with her co-star and supposed to be her boyfriend, Sheezan, and then just a few minutes later, she was found hanging. So it's very hard for us to believe that this could be anything else but possibly some kind of argument that may have broken out, etc. Or was she depressed? These are, the police, as they investigate the case, are contemplating with different angles. But today, as an actor, how would you look at this?
As a young actor, I know the pressures of the industry, and being on social media, you seem happy all the time, but that's not true. We are under a lot of pressure because we have to look good physically, we need to be mentally strong, because this profession does not demand just, physical appearance. It demands a good mental space as well. And I think for Tunisha, she must be in a very, very rough patch, which her followers couldn't see through social media. And a lot of people in this industry don't really care what you're going through. They just want your work to be done. And I guess probably they must have had a very, very harsh argument, or they must be going through a very rough phase. And that argument is, I think, what this has happened. It has led to this thing. But I guess she must be depressed for like 2-3 months, and that's why this thing happened. Otherwise, I don't think so that one argument can drive someone to suicide. It must be a lot of collective pressure on her from industry side of you to work, to look good at the same time, and being mentally very, very depressed because of a relationship or maybe some personal stuff. So I think one has to be very, very mentally stable and sane to work in this industry, because this industry is really high pressured.
You say high-pressured industry, but here clearly at this point we see Tunisha as someone who was in the industry for many years. She started off as a child artist, may have known the real pressures of the industry and has adapted to it quite well. She was quite successful in what she did, had several characters she was playing in different with different production houses. So for her to have succumbed to work pressure is something that may not wash. Damini Chopra, would you reckon with that? Work pressure may not be the reason that, of course, let's make this very clear here. We are not the police. We are not there at the spot. We don't know what's gone behind them. So this is just only to understand the pressures of an actor. Several cases coming to light where young actors have taken their lives. Damini, your take on this. Could work pressure have got to her?
Thank you for having me. Firstly, I'd like to say I completely concur with what Raviraa just said. What you see may not actually be the case behind the scenes, because as an actor, at whatever level you may be, whether you're on OTT, TV and very famous, just starting out, wherever, the pressures are extremely high. So just because it seems that somebody may be extremely successful, shooting a lot, does not mean that they are not under tremendous pressure, because there are financial pressures, there are pressures of you don't know how long you're going to be on a project. Ours is not a contractual based thing. You could literally be working today and not be on set tomorrow, because it's not a very structured industry. So it's very, very likely that even though she did seem extremely successful, she was under some kind of work pressure, which obviously her managers or her team would be in a better position to answer. Was there a love angle? It clearly seems so at the moment, but I do agree with Raviraa that there couldn't just have been a love angle. I am certain, or I do feel that she was probably dealing with a lot of pressure. And just because somebody spends a lot of years in the industry does not make it any easier, because the nature of the job is such that you could be highly relevant today and you could be out of the game tomorrow. So somebody who's been working for 20 years could feel the pressure as much as somebody who's just landed 20 days ago and, started shooting.
You know, I would still believe, I would still probably look at it this way. I don't know if you agree with me, but longer that you are in the industry, it really gets to you, because you got to keep up with the pace, you got to keep up with the look, keep up with popularity, feed your fans with something new all the time, and that's highly impossible and over and above us. At one point, it's very difficult to actually conform to the ideas that your fans have of you 24/7. To be someone else, apart from who you really are, just for the cameras, is not an easy task. And growing up, the very defining years of her life, all the way from 10 to 20, she's barely about 20 odd years, where ideally she should have been, a regular childhood versus an actor. Is a huge difference.
Yeah.
You have a different idea of life altogether. Do you think that could have also added to that pressure, Damini?
I definitely feel so, because I feel for somebody who's really not seen a life outside of this, it's very difficult to understand. For me, I would personally say I went to college. I literally had a life before I started out. So I can differentiate between the two. But yes, like you said, Nabila, if somebody has just grown up here, the pressure can get extremely daunting, because you feel there is no life outside of that. For example, she could probably feel if the show is not getting good ratings, goes off air or something, that's the end of life. She could actually have been thinking so. So it's very, very difficult to know what she was going through, because she literally grew up thinking this is how life works and this is all there is to life.
All right, stay with us. We also have Dipesh Tripathi who's joining us. I'm going to come to your panelists. Dipesh, if you can give us an understanding on so far. All right, Divyesh Singh we have with us. Divyesh, an idea on what the police have found so far and what's the suspicion that they have. A quick 5 pointers on what they found in this case.
Well, Nabila, the police as of now are interrogating Sheezan, and Sheezan in his during interrogation has revealed that he was in a relationship with Tunisha due to the atmosphere going on in the country after the Aftab Shraddha case. After the murder of Shraddha, Aftab's role came out, and after that he decided to call their relationship off, because both belong to different religions, and that is what he says was the reason. As of now, Sheezan hasn't revealed what went on in the 15 minutes between 3 p.m. and 3:15 p.m. when Sheezan and Tunisha had lunch together in the makeup room on the set on 23rd of December, after which Tunisha ended her life. He's yet to reveal what were they speaking about, what was the last communication that they had that triggered Tunisha to take her own life, to hang herself, to commit suicide. So as of now, police are yet to find out the trigger that led Tunisha to take this drastic step of ending her life. Sheezan has been repeating the same things, that both belong to different religions, and that was the reason that he called off the relationship. He's also pointed out that age gap between Tunisha and Sheezan was another reason that he did not want to continue this relationship. Tunisha was depressed because of this, and he had also informed Tunisha's parents regarding the same.
Yeah, so she did have a brief panic attack just a few days before the suicide bid, is what we hear, and that the family members of Tunisha themselves have admitted. And at that point too, she claimed that it was Shehzad who had cheated on her, and that's why she was feeling all anxious. Let me cut across to our panelists. Divyesh, stay with us. But, Raviraa, if you're in the industry, it's inevitable that you're meeting a lot of people, you're in relationships, in and out of relationships. It's not new. What we hear and see is certainly not new. But this whole talk around Sheezan possibly having multiple relationships, him using her, and eventually that's what's really got into her, does that wash with you?
In this industry, what happens is, you shoot with someone for 15 days, 20 days constantly. You get to know their habits. You get attached to that person. So infatuations are very, very common in this industry. Having a strong, sturdy relationship is not very easy to have with your co-star, because they're going to shoot with other people as well. So maybe, that guy, he's actually a Muslim also. They are allowed to have 4 marriages. So maybe he must be like this, that I can have two, three more relationships, and that girl was probably serious for him, but he was not that serious for her. And this is a problem in the industry as well, because you just can't have a sturdy relationship, and that can lead to a lot of mental pressure. Like Damini said, we are in work pressure. Yeah, we are constantly unemployed, So having a sturdy relationship makes you feel happy. But if you even can't have that, you feel that your partner is going to cheat on you every time he's outside or he's not with you. That will create a lot of pressure on your mind, especially as a girl, because as girls, we are quite emotional creatures. And if we are involved with someone, we generally tend to be very serious with them. So I guess Tanisha couldn't handle that pressure if he was cheating on her. And it's very, very difficult for a young girl. She was just 22, handle all these things together, working. Because even I did my BTech first, and I entered the industry when I was 20. So I knew how the world works. And I guess that girl was too young to understand the industry when she entered at the age of 10, and now she's no more at the age of 20. Because I guess the life she saw was very different if she would have just been to school, college, and seen normal people around. But she was always surrounded with actors, and actors in
Yeah,
general tend
and
to
you're
be a very
constantly
different
under the
breed.
spotlight. There's the spotlight on you
Yes.
all the time. Possibly a moment of distress could really, spike emotions. I'm not saying that could be the reason. It could be a lot more than that. But Bhuvan
Yes.
Ponnanna, who's also an actor himself, quite a popular face in the South. Bhuvan, a very tragic case of this lovely girl, Tunisha Sharma, who's allegedly committed suicide. How would you look at this case as an actor? We believe she was in a relationship with a co-star. They were on the same sets. This is not unheard of, that two actors are in a relationship. Now, one takes it well, the other does not possibly. But of course, the co-star has now been arrested on charges of abatement to suicide. But your point of view on an actor's life and the struggles?
Hi Nabila, first of all, I pray for Tunisha's soul. See, as you said, relationship between co-stars is really, really common because there is intimacy. You're meeting the person for a really long time, and you're spending a lot of time together. But what is alarming today, in what I see, is how fragile we've become mentally. We work out, we're physically very strong, and all that. We tell, we claim that we are really strong, but
Yeah.
how fragile are we mentally? Because if a boy ditches you or a girl ditches you, why would you have to suicide? There's so much of life ahead of you. You could do so many things in the future. You're going to be meeting a lot of people in the future. So I see a lot of kids today, I couldn't do well in my exams, I'm going to die. Somebody ditched me, I'm going to die. I didn't earn enough money, I'm going to die. Somebody called me names, I'm going to die. So suicide is not the final solution for everything, because all the achievers, if you look at the biggest of the people who achieve so much in their lives, these are people who struggled through their lives with relationships, careers, and everything, and one fine day you're blessed with everything. So I think you got to stop taking things too seriously in life. I was reading somewhere in a very important, a very beautiful book which said that life is not meant to be taken so seriously. It's supposed to be taken casually, being happy with each day that passes by. And I think in Tunisha's case, she's really young, yet to see the world, yet to experience people, yet to experience so many things in life, and it's so unfortunate that she's given up so early.
So Bhuvan, yeah, from what I gather from you, you're saying that this is the age group itself is very vulnerable because they've grown up in the age of social media. Tunisha, particularly, if I should again reiterate, she was a child artist. She's grown up within the industry, constantly under the spotlight. Now, could that have really led to this, act of suicide, or was this a lot more than that? Was this really abatement, a case of abatement? But I'd like to ask Bhuvan on that. There's some talks or people who say that it's the women who take a breakup quite badly. Women are more sensitive. Women can really take extreme steps if they break up with a boy versus a man who really handles it better. Why don't you tell us? You're a man in the industry. Is there any difference between a woman and a man perceiving the relationship emotionally?
See, if you're asking me personally, I don't want to don't want to be speaking about men in general. But if you're asking me personally, I think it's similar both ways because, I myself was in a relationship quite some time back when I was probably like, 17 or 18 and, I was struggling then as well. So, when the girl ditched me because, her mama told her that, oh, he's not going to do anything in his life. He's struggling as of now. You got to be finding somebody who's settled and all that. And, I have cried for 24 hours non-stop. And, I was trying to get back to this person for almost like 4 to 5 years. And then one day I realized that, my life and my career, and there are so many much bigger things than this. There'll be a trillion people who I'll meet. And that took me it took me about 4 years for me to realize that. So I think, both ways, it's hard on us because, in that stage, probably, when you're in between 16 to 23, 24-ish, you're pretty fragile. You're believing everything that you're seeing around you. You think that, everything is so flowery and everything is going to work out. And, probably the first 2, 3 people you meet in your life, you're making, plans of wedding and children with them when you yourself are a child. So I think, I think it's very important for youngsters to not take such things very seriously because, I was reading, a research which said that, a person meets his mate after six people, 6 men or 6 women or whatever it is. So I think, there's a long life ahead and you should always put into your mind to think that, I'm going to be a lot more important
but
and
when you're
who will
growing
be,
up in the world of social media, there's already a flawed perception of reality that you have of life. It's very different the way social media life, first of all, is full of pretense. It's just a facade. And one really struggles to really understand what the truth behind it is. Especially when you have youngsters today growing up in the age of social media, you want your life to be as pretty as what you see on those platforms. So it's very difficult to adapt. Understood very well that this generation is slightly more vulnerable and anxious. But Damini, when the whole talk comes down to the boyfriend cheating on her or the boy having multiple other relationships and using her, I mean, we're talking in the day and age of dating apps. You have everything at a click of a button. You're able to find multiple partners or go on multiple dates at the same time. You may or may not tell the person that you're seeing someone else, but that's the fact. Could you hold someone against it? Could you accuse someone of cheating, to an extent where this, I mean, unfortunately, the girl was driven to alleged suicide. But the point here is, could you really stop someone for dating multiple people in this day and age of dating apps?
So, Nabila, couple of points here. Firstly, I think commitment depends on the conversation between 2 people. Yes, you're right. There are people who are in various kinds of arrangements where they are not answerable. I don't know what the particular arrangement between these 2 people were, but if they were committed to each other, then they should have stuck to it. I don't agree with a few things. I don't think that just because he was Muslim and he's allowed 4 marriages, he probably thought that way. We don't know if he were Hindu or Jewish or Sikh or Christian, if he'd be...
let me speak for that. Muslim being allowed 4 marriages, there are a lot of clauses. Unfortunately, even the Muslims do not follow that. That's the shame. But there are several clauses to why you can marry 4 times. It's not as easy as you can just marry 4 times if you're a Muslim. Not at all. But unfortunately, it's not followed to the T. What exactly the book says is certainly not what is followed. But yeah, apart from the religious differences or religion being the reason here, you see people in the industry dating multiple people. It's not unheard of.
I want to really clarify this. Every person in the industry, and especially for outsiders, we are as moral or amoral as the next person. We are normal middle class people who left our homes and decided to just pursue a career that looks glamorous. All the glamour that you see is in front of the camera. There's no glamour behind it when you're shooting or trying to get the job. So a person who's in the industry more or less is as moral or amoral as another same aged person in aviation or hotels or...
Absolutely. Every industry has their vices, yeah?
So I mean, him being what Dipesh said, that he sort of broke up with her citing religion or age, these are factors he knew beforehand before he started dating her. So if he did have a commitment to give her and then he backed out on these reasons, that is incorrect. Just because he's the particular religion or he's an actor does not justify it. Neither does that give any liberty to anybody to say that just the industry is more amoral. There are very committed relationships in the industry too, and there are very open relationships outside of the industry too. It is particularly this person in question who, if he led her on and then changed his mind or went ahead with somebody else, is to be held accountable for the person that he is. As far as she's concerned, of course, everybody has options whether or not you're an actor, but maybe this was a relationship that she felt would have worked out. Coming back to Bhuvan, you know, everybody gets perspective in hindsight. If I meet an 8th grader right now, I can tell them that their math exam is probably not the end of the world. But when I was in 8th grade, did I have that perspective? Maybe not. So it's very easy for us to say that, you know, Tunisha was just really young and she had opportunities. Would she have had that perspective at that point, or did we have that perspective when we were in our teens? Maybe not.